Hello, my name is Esosa and I'm the director of Parent Power Plus. Today's video is to enlighten you on what we do and why we do what we do at Parent Power Plus. Parent Power Plus, at Parent Power Plus, we train and empower parents and carers like you on how best to effectively support and prepare their children whom they are preparing for the 11 plus exams. We tend to focus on parents with children in primary school years 3 to 5 because we believe those are the core years for a child who is preparing for such a unique exam. So why do we focus on parents and not just teach your children like a number of organizations are doing? That's a very good question. And my simple answer is because we believe that there is a gap that exists in parent knowledge on the best way to approach this exam. The exam can be quite a dark area, a gray area for a number of parents. And if you are not well informed, you will not adequately support your child on how best to excel in the exams. It goes beyond that as well, the why. We also believe that because parents are the first point of contact to any child, because they are the first role models to any child, and again, because they are the first educators a child meets, they are in a very unique position. Their role is very pivotal to the success of the child in such a unique and complex exam as the 11 plus. We believe that if we focus on the parents and we get it right, as parents and carers, every other thing adds up. Okay, so what gave birth to Parent Power Plus? Parent Power Plus was birthed from my own personal 11 plus experience. About 5 years ago was when I embarked on this journey myself. And to be honest with you, it was like a minefield. The more I discovered about what the exam entailed, the more it blew my mind. And I thought, oh my gosh, am I sure that I can do this? Because I wanted to tutor my child, and I asked a lot of questions. Some of them were a bit, limiting my belief in myself that I could do it, because it was a very good area. I didn't know anything about it. And I felt I was even quite late in discovering that such an exam existed. I felt the school should have told me. Why did the primary school not tell me? But really, it's not theirs to know. A number of primary schools don't bother about educating or informing parents about this because it's not a cup of tea. Only a few who perhaps, because over the years they've had a high influx of their students into grammar school, they now begin to show interest and help parents by providing them with some basic knowledge. But most primary schools don't bother about providing parents with this. So the onus is on the parent to find out, to know what this exam is about. What must I do? What should I do? Etc. And so that's how my experience on the 11 plus started. And as I ventured into it, I began to learn so much about it that I never knew existed. I had little help from outsiders because my friends were in some ways as ill-informed as I was, because they were all starting out at the same time that I did. And I was quite afraid, if I'm honest, because all of my friends, all of them had private tutors they were using, but I was the only one who set out to tutor my child. Why was I that foolish? Some people must have wondered at the time. Why? But I just believed that I could, and I just took it one step at a time. I had so many questions. What resources do I use? What do I do first? My son was depicting a number of behaviors. I wasn't sure if I was using the right approach. There was a time we discovered that his core skills were lacking, and this was a boy who had been doing so well in primary school, getting teachers' awards and recognitions. But for the 11 plus, we realized that he needed certain core skills. And so we had to stop all we were doing and focus on those core skills. But how did I know that this was lacking? How did I know what to do? Was because first and foremost, I did a good amount of research because of my background. And then I met a wonderful mentor, actually two mentors, who took me through what I didn't know. And they showed me what I was doing that was working and the aspects that I was getting wrong. They literally taught me the tricks to the trade. And I'm so grateful for them. Because as I carried on learning, I was able to support my child. I was able to teach him some core skills, because if you know anything about 11 plus, it's not just for the intelligent child. No, there are some key skills that if a child doesn't have them, they will suffer even with all the knowledge in their head. So I was able to teach my child these core skills, and he became a very confident boy who was making less and less mistakes. He knew how to manage his own time. He knew how to answer questions effectively in a short time. That meant he finished the papers on time, the practice papers. And I tell you what, when my son wrote the last one mock exam before he sat for the actual 11 plus exam, before he went in there, as a matter of fact, I asked him to predict his scores, which was now our style, our fashion, before he sits for any practice or mock exam paper. And he told me a score. And later on in the day, or the next day, when I got his performance from the mock exam center, the score they told me was exactly the score that my son had predicted that he would get. How come about that? It is because we had equipped him over the years on how to manage his knowledge, on how to assess himself. And this doesn't just come like that. It comes with practice. It comes with determination. It comes with knowledge, with skill. And so really, that was how Parent Power Plus was best. And I felt that all of these lessons I have learned, another parent out there can benefit from it. And so I founded this company last year, where I get parents to sign up for our training courses, and I just simply share my experience with them in a very structured and effective way. So what exactly does the training comprise? I'll tell you. So it's usually run for 6 weeks. Now, don't be afraid. It's not every single day of the 6 weeks that I train parents. No. So if you decide to come on board, for example, it goes on for 6 weeks. And in those 6 weeks, one every day, I teach parents or train parents online using 6 different modules. So one module each week. And I'll tell you a bit about what each module entails. So in module 1, remember I said I were very heavy on parents and their role. So we focus on that in module 1, where we talk a lot about the role of parents, the role of the home front. Because if you don't get it right, a child will go out to school and come back home. If that support, if that ambience, if that skill and ability in the parent is missing, the child will struggle. It takes an extraordinary child that lacks in these areas of parental and home support to do so well. So we focus on that in module 1. We also cover what I call managing behaviors. Children depict a number of behaviors when they're preparing for any exam, let alone the 11 plus, and this can either help or go against their progress and performance. And so we cover that. We teach parents how to identify these behaviors, how to correct these behaviors, what to do to manage these behaviors to the best possible way. And another thing we cover in module 1 is the skills gap analysis. What on earth am I talking about? Now, the skills gap analysis is how you as a parent can identify, can gauge where your child is at in their learning, in their knowledge, in their skills, and then you knowing what to do to bridge the gap that will get them to a place where they are confident, they are fully informed of how to successfully write the 11 plus exam, so that they can excel and get into a grammar school of their choice. So that's what I cover in module 1. And then in week 2, module 2, what we look into is the scope of the 11 plus. What's the content? What's the curriculum like? What should you know? What exactly does it entail? What are the exam types? What are the exam bodies? What is unique about each exam? What skills is required for each exam? We cover all of that in module 2. And in module 2, I go a step further, and I teach our parents about, just bear with me a second. In module 2, I also teach our parents about the key resources to use. Now, if you know anything about 11 plus exams, you know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different resources. Which one is trusted? Which should you use? Now, this particular aspect blew my mind when I first set out. I didn't know which resources to use. Nobody had told me anything. I was just doing what I thought to do best, and I purchased from here and I purchased from there. Now again, on social media, I find parents, bless them, they post pictures of resources that they no longer use and they are wanting to sell at very cheap rates. So in module 2, we educate the parents on how to avoid panic or mass buying, and more importantly, what resources that have been tested and trusted not just by me but by a number of other parents and my mentors and teachers, so that they get it right from the word go. So in addition to those key resources, we teach them on supporting resources that can also help them. And of course, in module 2, I cover tutoring time. So are you a parent? Do you want to tutor your child like I did? Or you feel you don't have the time or capability and you're looking out to get a private tutor? I cover all of this, what you must know, what you must do to ensure that the right tutoring is provided for your child, because every child has his or her own unique learning style and need. If you get it right, if you know what this is, you can match it with the right tutoring time and everything will just work fine for your child following that. Okay, so that's what we cover in module 2. In module 3, I focus on building core skills. So if you remember, I said we discovered at the point that my child didn't have some requisite core skills, even though he was one of the top students in his primary school class. You know, when he came to 11 plus, we discovered he was struggling, and so we stripped him of everything and just went back to basics. So it is this learning point that I teach my parents how to ensure that their children have the right core skills. I also teach them the best approach to supporting or tutoring their children, methods, techniques. You don't have to be a qualified teacher. I'm not a qualified teacher. I'm educated. I come from a science and engineering background, but trust me, you don't even have to come from the similar background that I have for you to effectively teach your child or support your child. You know, so I teach some key methods and techniques. You know, for example, some parents use old-fashioned methods to teach their children, and the child either struggles or it takes them a longer time to answer to a question. And the 11 plus is about speed, accuracy, and a number of other skills, you know, intelligence as well. But it's not just for the intelligent child. The child needs some skills to ensure that they efficiently and effectively answer the questions. And it all starts from how they were taught. So this is what I cover in module 3, you know, the methods and techniques. I also teach the parents how to monitor progress. Very important. How do you monitor progress to ensure that it is the right progress? It is right, it's given at the right time. How do you provide feedback? What do you do when you see certain outcomes? How do you manage it, you know? And then I cover some question times, which are so important and gets asked in most of the 11 plus assessment papers and even the exam. It helps the parent and the child to understand the skills that are attached to such questions, which, you know, which makes a whole lot of difference. And in week 4, module 4, I cover the exam application processes. So you want your child to sit for the exam. Do you know what it takes to apply for the exam? There are two main stages in 11 plus application processes. You know, both are so critical. And the second one, if you miss out, in fact, both of them, if you miss out on vital information, it can affect your child's chance of getting into a grammar school. So I cover that in this module. I also cover how to find a school. Some parents that have come to my training don't even have a clue of what grammar school is in their area, or if the grammar school is right for them. I teach them what they need to know. How do you know a grammar school is right for your child's educational needs, and their other interests? You know, or how does the school suit your family lifestyle or your child's lifestyle? It's so important, because if you put your child in the wrong school, it can frustrate them and you will not get the best out of them. So I cover this in this module. I teach about the benefits of open days and evenings, how you can make the most of it. I cannot tell you the usefulness of open days to me, and how I use that to support my child, not just preparing for the exam, but when he got into grammar school. Some things I picked out from the open days, you know, are what I am using now to support my child, So I cover that in module 4. And then in module 5, I get into the exam preparation. So you've learned about the resources. You're now good to go. You're supporting your child. You're teaching your child where you can, and you probably have a tutor, but you know your role and how best to use it to support your child and get the best. In module 5, when it's months to the exam, weeks to the exam, how do you teach your child to revise? What are the skills your child should have by this time? And if they are absent, how do you ensure they are there? I cover them in week 5. I also cover how your child conducts him or herself on the day of the exam. Very, very important. Some things your child needs to know in their head and have as they go into the exam that would make a difference in the outcome. And then the results come. Do you know how to interpret the results? This is another gray area. Trust me, some parents don't understand the terminology, so I break it down. I explain to them. I know a friend who, for failure to understand the results, the child did not get into a school of her choice. Men, you just need to hear some stories. It makes a whole lot of difference when you have the right knowledge in your hands, or in your head, so to speak. So I cover that. I also cover the admission process, the appeal period, the waiting list, things you need to know. It's not just enough that the result is out. There are some other sub processes that follow after, and then overall I cover top mistakes parents are making when preparing their children for the exam, and similarly top mistakes parents children make when preparing their children, when they are preparing for the exam or even during the exams. So these are all covered in module 5 in week 5. And module 6, which is the last week, what we cover is interesting. This is one of my favorites. So I invite current grammar school students to come and share their lessons and experience of preparing for the 11 plus, and now they're in grammar school. They share their experience with the children who are preparing for the 11 plus exams. So the children of parents on my training. It's always proved so useful because it's an opportunity for these children to learn, be inspired, be motivated, and have the right mindset. If at that stage they have doubts about their abilities, etc. They hear from other students, they are inspired to do better, to forge ahead. They also have the opportunity to ask questions to these older students and learn. Beautiful, beautiful experience. And it doesn't stop there. I share my experience with my son now in grammar school. I shared with the parents there, because it's one thing to know what to do, run up till when your child gets into grammar school. It doesn't stop there. We prepare our parents to be equipped on how best to support the child when they're in grammar school. Now I have had 2 years of experience of my child being in grammar school. I've learned a whole lot of things, and I'm still learning, and I pour out this experience to the parents. I share it with them so that they are so well informed. There's so many things I have learned that I just wonder how many other parents know this. And of course, everybody can learn in their different ways. But when you have somebody who's been through it already, why do you want to learn the hard way? So I share this experience with parents on how their child can continue winning even in grammar school. And another icing on the cake is guest speakers that I bring on board. 1-2 guest speakers every time. I bring them on board in this last week module to share with parents from their own experience also what they should be doing. It's like putting all that they have learned over the past 5 weeks together and just putting the icing on top. Now, my speakers have ranged from private tutors to former head teachers, or parenting experts. They just come, 1 or 2 each time. They come and they talk to the parents. It has been so useful. I have even learned from them, as experts. And so this is all that the 6 modules comprise of, that is taught across the 6 weeks. We've had wonderful, amazing success stories and feedbacks from our parents. One parent joined months before her child was preparing for the exam because she felt there was something missing. The child was in the 70s. And she needed the child to go higher in his scores. Now, it's not all about scores, but yes, scores matter, of course, And so she heard of my training and she joined. And she was ever so glad that she joined, because that helped up the child's scores. And of course, the child did well, and she came back ever so grateful. I've had other success stories. Not a number of parents who have come on my training and they have said, I wish I knew you a year ago, a year before now. One said how she knew nothing about the exam and she didn't support her child properly. She just left the child on his own, and the child didn't do well. But now with her second child, and knowing and being part of my training, she's understood what her role is and has effectively supported her child. And the child, of course, went on to do well. I have a number of parents who are saying the same things, telling the same positive feedback, and it gladdens my heart that I'm able to share my experience and help other parents, because that's really what I set out to do. So I've come to the end of my video, and I hope you enjoy. You've enjoyed all that I have said. If you do, kindly like it. Share with your friends who you know that are preparing their children or in the same experience. Let them get the knowledge. Let them understand some of what we do. And if you are thinking of joining my next training class, you will find information below this video on when that will be. You know, I'll put information also on our free masterclass, which happens every now and again, which you can enroll for to get a bigger understanding of what really we do during our training and my journey. Or you can drop me an email if you have any query. My email address is hello@parentpowerplus.co.uk. I'll be keen to know what you think about this video, or what we do at Parent Power Plus. I'd like to hear your own unique 11+ story or journey. Drop me a message or drop a comment. Subscribe so you can get more of our videos, and I look forward to hearing from you in due course. Bye bye now.